Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 46 of 2024. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Oddsbreakers. Follow us on social media / the Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by Circa Sports. For the best football contests in all of the land, please visit circasports.com/contest and get into Circa Millions and Circa Survivor with over $16 million in guarantees. If you like to support the Oddsbreakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. Pick any for winning cappers to get their premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Oddsbreakers and become a free picks and Telegram subscriber. And make sure when you are getting our football packages to use the promo code FOOTBALL24 to get $100 off any football package or $50 off the first month of any monthly subscriber. Plays are being put in as we speak. We have a great show for you today because Raphael Esparza from MyBookie and Doc Sports is coming on to break down some college and NFL football. We're going to talk some exotic bets, some props, and a little bit about the divisions in itself in the NFL and the conferences in college football. Cannot wait to talk to Raphael, see what he's been up to lately. But before Raphael comes on, I'm going to tell you what I've been up to lately. I've been studying. College football is a beast. There's 134 teams in college football this year. And there's a lot to catch up on, and I'm knee-deep in the Big Ten because I plan on having my Big Ten preview ready for you next week. I'm hoping to finish all my college preview work by the next 2 weeks or so, and that way I will just feel like I have a full grasp on what to expect for the season. I already got probably almost half of it done, but man, I'll tell you, looking through magazines, reading through the articles, looking at all the information that you get for free, like EPA, checking out the transfer portal net ratings. You look at the transfer portal gross ratings on 247, as well as all the recruiting over the past years. Yeah, just lots and lots going on, and there's always lots of changes, like new offensive coordinators. I'm trying to find out which teams are playing faster, which teams are playing slower. Definitely a full process in the off season. We are not... Well, it's not like I'm not busy in the offseason. I podcasted as much, not quite, but I'm certainly very busy in the offseason, capping baseball, UFC, and obviously prepping for football 2024. And the Hall of Fame game is only like 20-some days away or something. So we are very, very close to having some actual football in our TVs. Well, that's not the UFL anyways. But hey, it's been a good break. Baseball has been going great. I am positive in baseball, up around 9 or 10 units, so I can't complain about that. But this podcast is always focused on the main sports because it's hard to podcast about baseball because things change so quickly, basically every single hour. It's hard to have a show on baseball because I've literally tried to watch daily shows and something major changes, like a pitcher or a lineup change or something crazy right before the game, and everything you talked about can kind of go to the wayside. There's also sports like basketball and hockey that have the same issues, but we try to cap for the weekends and cap for the time that you have away from your job to go and watch these games and hopefully have a good time while you do it. Definitely makes these games a heck of a lot more interesting if you got a little money on it, and that's what we're here for, trying to make the better bets, not the emotionally driven impulse bets that people like to do, keeping places like DraftKings and FanDuel, BetMGM, and all the big books very profitable. So that's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to do. But right now, it's time to talk some football, and we're going to bring on our wonderful guest, Mr. Raphael Esparza. Now I'm very happy to welcome back a wonderful handicapper, odds maker, and longtime friend of the show who works on both sides of the window. You know him from his work at mybookie.com and his great plays and insights at docsports.com. I'm very happy to bring back Mr. Raphael Esparza to the Oddsbreakers. You can follow Raph on X at VSI Doc Sports. Well, here we are, my man. It's you're in Vegas. You're breaking records over there, or is the weather breaking records?
Probably, well, both, because I have been struggling with ladies hoops, so I'm probably breaking losing records. But with I don't I'm not ashamed to say it, but the outside is breaking records.
It certainly is, man. I didn't know. Here's the thing: if you would have asked me if Vegas hit 120 degrees before, I would have said sure. You know, I thought I would have really assumed they did, but then they said Vegas hit 120 degrees. I'm like, oh, that's a big deal. That's like a Tuesday for us down here in Phoenix. What are you talking about?
You know, it's hot down there in Vegas when I was watching the news and the newscasters were actually telling people not to put eggs on the sidewalk to see if it cooks, because I guess it could spoil and mess up the asphalt or something. I didn't get to watch it, but I'm like, really? That's a news concern? Not to tell the people not to put eggs on sidewalks? But,
Well, you have to look at their audience too, and then you might understand
yeah,
sometimes.
it's true. Good point.
But first of all,
Good point.
I would want to put an egg not in the sidewalk. I would put it on the asphalt because the asphalt's black. So what are they talking
Yeah.
about? That's a much better place to fry an egg. You know,
I agree.
a guy did a whole story here about frying eggs in his truck on the dashboard and cooking steaks, and it worked. I don't know what he did.
I saw that.
Yeah. It was. I think it was popular last year. So, you know, if you would too cheap to run your gas or don't want your electric bill going up because your AC is going up, you can just cook outside. So I disagree with Mister Newscaster there. I say if you can cook it, you should do it. It's just like camping, right? Kind of, maybe a little dirtier.
A little bit dirtier.
A little bit, just a little. But anyways, the pool is outside, and that's where I've been enjoying myself, and also playing a heck of a lot of hot baseball with my son. So baseball's finally ended, but we went through a lot of that. And I've been just prepping football, man, back and forth football, baseball in the morning, football, UFC in the weekends. You know how we do. But we still have a lot to talk about because I think only 20-some days till first game, till the Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I haven't counted because we got the Olympics just right around the corner.
Yeah.
So I've been concentrating on Olympics and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't believe football is here is in a blink of an college football. I'm a little bit more excited for that. So we'll dive into that with extended playoffs, stuff like that. But yeah, I just can't believe how quickly this summer has kind of here and there and gonna be gone tomorrow. I mean, that's what when I think of football season, I think, all right, the hundreds are gone. I'm more excited. I'm more excited of the fall weather of football season more than anything else.
The fall weather and the good cooking. That's what I'm always excited about. But hey, there is odds out there, and we need to talk about them. And I'll tell you this, man. Yeah, you're right about the time going so fast. It's like, I finally got an early start in college football, and I'm starting to look, oh my God, it's July 10th. I'm hearing shows talking about it, and I've done a lot of work, but my work's not complete yet. But maybe you can help out here a little bit as well. But here we are. I'm going to talk about props because that's your specialty. You make them, you grade them, you do such a wonderful job all these years. Is there anything that new popped up for the college or NFL? Because I do have one prop idea if it hasn't been used already.
We've got a lot on quarterbacks being benched first. That's probably the most action I've seen this year, just because of the names that's been out there with this year's quarterbacks. I think that's probably why the plug in on that one. Then, of course, Week 1 starting quarterbacks got a lot of love, especially out in Pittsburgh between those two quarterback battles. Vikings starting quarterback for Week 1 has got a lot of battles. I like the NFL regular season team total points that we have had. So the amount of points you have scored all season long. So that's very interesting. I've seen someone asked a couple years ago, and I just didn't have time to do it, and then I got asked to help out on that, and so I was able to help out. Didn't create the whole thing, but was able to help out and do some of the teams with some fellow odds makers. So that's an interesting one I kind of liked this year, just because a lot of high scoring game teams. 49ers, a perfect example. I think the Jets will be a little bit more high scoring team this year. So I think if you're looking at teams that maybe have new offenses, I think the Steelers. I mean, everyone last year, everyone was just, who wants to watch a Steeler game because they can barely score. This year we might see totally different on scoring range. So I thought season total points was very interesting, that you can maybe do something this year on prop bets.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm seeing season sacks, like total sacks
Yeah, I
out
see
there.
season sacks.
Like,
That's very interesting too.
Carolina's at 35.5, yet the Chiefs are at 50.5. There's a pretty big disparity there. Who's going to be sacking the quarterback? They traded.
I also like division wins. Division wins like over under 2.5 for your because you have to play it. I think that was kind of interesting. I seen that last year and I just never really caught on. Like I was gonna, type it all up and show people around it because that wasn't on there. And I think this is back to back years that I've seen division total season wins, which is good because you have to play your division teams. I think if you're like the NFC South, that's wide open between Tampa and Atlanta and Carolina. And stuff like that. Maybe look at division wins for your team on that.
There's also wins up to 5 games, which is crazy. I mean, it's just
I don't know about that one. I mean, I understand why they did it, but that one's a little toughy. I'd rather do division wins than first 5 wins because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, we've seen teams start off really bad and then get hot and make the playoffs. And stuff, so
well, you look at like Arizona. I think their schedule.
Do you have a team there?
They're out in the sun. They're bathing, and but the winds is really tough because I believe their schedule is super hard at first and then lightens up, and you can say that about the Steelers too. There's Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers.
Their schedule's hard all around, but it's even harder on the back end. But I'm gonna pull up the Cardinals schedule, see if I said that backwards, because I don't want to lead anybody different here. But this was a team, I think I wanted to take their season win total in the season, right? First, let's see here. There's preseason. Oh, yeah. They got the Bills at the Bills for the first game. Then the Rams at home. That should be a loss. Then the Lions at home. That should be a loss. So probably beat the Commanders. Then at San Francisco. I mean, that screams just one win. But then you go to at Green Bay and then home against the Chargers. Then at the Miami Dolphins. Then it gets easier week 9. Bears, Jets at least at home. At Seattle, at the Vikings is easier. Home against Seattle, easier. New England Patriots, at Carolina, at the Rams. And then you got the tough game at San Fran. So I was thinking to myself, they probably only have one win through 5 games. And then DraftKings is dealing one win at plus 250. There's no over-under. I wish there was. But 2 wins plus 175, 3 wins plus 250, 4 wins plus 750, and 5 wins is plus 4,000. I think there's just a much better chance they only get one win through the first 5 games because of how brutal that looked.
You don't think you're going 5-0? Is that what you're saying? They're not going perfect? Is that what you're saying?
40-1 if you want it. I do have a prop idea for you, and it's for college.
All right, let me get my pen.
All right. And I haven't seen it yet. And maybe you can word it a couple different ways. But I'm curious about undefeated teams up to the college football playoffs. So I would and you could either do this for regular season or not. But playoffs teams are going to get a bye. So I would say all the way up to the first playoff game, a prop that there is no undefeated team in college football because now Ohio State's schedule got harder. You got Oregon, you got USC. I'm sorry, they got harder. And they're the top cream of the crop. But when you think about Michigan, you think about Penn State, you think about teams that could have went to undefeated before, like Alabama and Georgia. Now with Texas and Oklahoma there, everybody's stuff got harder. But not only that, their mentality is different. Their mentality is like, I don't need to win every game to get to the playoffs. I only need to win 10 games, and I'm in the playoffs. But if I want my bye, I need to win 11 games. I feel like they're going to take a week off. If I would bet the under. I would bet there is no undefeated team by the time the playoffs start. But I'd be curious what the number on that would be because I would guess it would be minus 150 to the under because I just think that the chances of an undefeated team are a lot harder. But I could be wrong. If it's minus 110, I'd be more interested, of course. But maybe you can go to work on that one, Raph.
The first thing that popped in my head would be 2 ways: do a handful of teams, where they go undefeated, because certain teams, there's no way they will go undefeated, or will there be an undefeated team before the regular season? Yes or no?
Shh, Liberty. That's going to screw everybody. So we got to be quiet about that. All right, because you can't have a handful of teams, but I think the books would look at Liberty's schedule and be like, "There's no way they're losing a game." Maybe, And if that's the case, everyone's like looking at Georgia, looking at Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's little Liberty that they're sitting there. Liberty's in their bowl game on December 15th, and you're sitting there sweating it out because everybody else lost, but Liberty's the one that did. So maybe you do both. Maybe you do a handful of teams. Maybe it's Power 5.
I would probably do regular season. I don't think I would include a bowl game.
Okay, then regular season should be close to even money, in my opinion, because of Liberty's easy schedule and Boise State's easier schedule. So
yes.
So I would think that maybe you even get some plus money on the under for that. But that's my idea. Maybe you can kick it around.
I like it. I'll look at that. It would probably be the regular season because I don't want to have people to be complaining, oh, Liberty lost their starting quarterback before their bowl game. Can you be like FanDuel and give me a refund? I'm like, oh, so I will probably just do a regular season, not bowl game included. But I'll definitely take a shot at that one.
Well, you can. I hear injury insurance is the new thing, so people can buy injury insurance for a little juice on their bets. So. Yeah, we'll talk to him about that.
The world we got.
Well, it's the world
we got into.
I think it's hilarious because
these privileged bettors. That's what it is.
Well, now the books are going to make money off their injury insurance instead of giving the money back. That's just ridiculous.
Just going to add more boost with a higher rollover. It's
yeah, it's just like buying your insurance off a hand, surrendering in blackjack and things like that. And there's all kinds of ways to peel it. And usually insurance is a terrible buy, but you could be on a bad streak and be like, screw this. We all know how gambling goes, but I think it'd be fun to see something like that. So make sure you give me credit, of course, when you do it. And
checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail. Exactly. Checks in the mail. All right. Now that's all I can think of for now, but you're right. There is just all kinds of new crazy props coming up. I never thought I'd see what's your record by 5 games, pop up.
When I saw that, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, A, hats off whoever thought of it, and B, thank God I didn't have to research that.
Thank God it wasn't us. How many new college playoff system? What do you think that the college playoff system and what I'm trying to say, how it changes things? I wrote this wrong. With NIL, how is it going to continue to change now that we went for 12 games? But it's going to 14. So that was what I was trying to say. But how is it going to continue to change the landscape? Because we're still in the early years of it.
I've been saying this, and a lot of people hate when I say this, and a lot of people agree with me when I say this. This hurts one conference and one conference only, the SEC. When I was watching the national championship with Michigan and all that, how many teams in Michigan or players in Michigan or any other higher bowl game had an SEC transfer person on their roster, on a starting roster? SEC gets all the powerful names right away. All the people go to the SEC, to Georgia and all that. And if they don't get their quality playing time or they don't like the head coach, what do? They transfer out. They transfer to another team, and maybe they're better in that spot or that system, or they like the head coach better or whatever. I just think NIL and expanding playoffs hurts the SEC because now if you're an SEC team, you don't have to play just one playoff game and then you're a national champion. Now you have to play multiple playoff games. What if that SEC powerful quarterback gets hurt in one of those playoff games and they don't have a backup quarterback that's willing to go in there because it hasn't seen the light of day all season long? I don't like, and everyone says, oh, but the SEC is still going to get all these teams and we're going to win it. Well, they didn't win it last year. Big Ten won it. I think Big Ten might probably win it this year because I think it has to be Ohio State, or Ohio State's going to be looking for an all-new coaching staff if they don't win it this year. So it would not shock me if we see back-to-back years that an SEC team didn't win it, and it has to do with transfer portal. Not so much NIL, but I think the transfer portal hurts the SEC powerful teams more than anything.
It does. And the fact that this was my whole thought of being like a smaller team, big conference Badger fan. I wanted the talent to shift a little. There was just too many high players going to the best teams. And, in any professional sport, they would laugh at that. You have drafts to stop stuff like that. And I have no idea how this is going to evolve. So that's going to hurt them a little bit because of the transfer portal. I think you're correct in that. But unfortunately, as a Badger fan, this hurts us in ways because there's no more divisions. We can't just win against Iowa 50 times and get into the and get into the Big Ten championship game and have that coin flip go our way. Now we have to compete in a schedule, and we have to be number 2 in the Big Ten. That's why you're seeing like 60 now to 1 for 75 to 1 on some of these smaller I would call them mid big conference teams like Nebraska, like Wisconsin. I guess you can look in the SEC and say that about even Mississippi State or Ole Miss, or God forbid Florida hasn't been there in a while either. But it's
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. Well, Missouri's been low for a while. But yeah, it hurts us because of the alignment. But I guess we're at least in the Big Ten, and that's where I hope that something happens with the NIL, because I feel like the players will start getting salaries, but I still think you can't control the NIL, and that's where it's going to go. Tip to the caps to the Georgias and the Texas A&Ms and the teams that have the amount of money to spend, right? The most amount of money. I think even looking at some of the smaller schools, like the Ivy League schools, maybe they pop into the conference like a Harvard or something at someday, because if they have backing, you would think that a lot of their alumni is rich. Maybe they start getting a bigger backing, but I'd be curious to look into that, because Liberty, they get a ton of money. I'd be curious where all the money is. I would like to see a ranking of money spent on sports or booster money involved in this, because I think that's going to tell you what the future really is. You're going to see that team that hasn't made it yet has good money. I think that's going to change in about 5 years, Ralph.
I think NIL will change, and you're right. I think you're dead on. I think in about 5 years, you're going to have to see something capped off or something. And I think maybe even transfers too. I think the transfer portal, I think they're going to probably put a cap on that you can only transfer twice or something like that. Because and I know, but they're going to say, what about the coaches? What about the coaches? Coaches are grown men. They're making their own. Who's making these decisions for these kids? Not them. Their parents. Their soon-to-be agents and stuff like that. So I don't want to hear, well, coaches do it all the time. Hey, but coaches are grown men. They can accept the controversies or the bad thoughts or the bad things that they did for a bad transfer or a bad contract job that they just scattered out. These kids, they're not making these decisions on themselves. Like someone's in their camp or their entourage is making, you need to transfer out because you're not getting the correct playing time, or this head coach called you a bad name, transfer out. I think there's got to be some kind of a cap for transfers.
Yes, absolutely. 1,000%. I mean, because since you can't have a real draft in college because kids are allowed to pick where they're going to go, which is something I wonder if that changes someday in the future anyway, because of now being professional. That's just, and being paid. That's another thing to ask. But yeah, I think that at least make it a year sit out again, because it makes no sense to know the plays of your one team, your Wisconsin, their plays, you transfer to Northwestern. It's almost kind of bad to do that too. And that was one of the original excuses, but then they throw the academic thing and says, well, that's unfair academically. Well, that's not my fault. It's like
you can't throw academic. They're not going to school. They're not there for academics. Absolutely. So don't throw that out there for an excuse.
I found an article that says the highest money of boosters all the way the top 25. Okay. And I'm trying to find a date on this article. It's interesting from, maybe they just picked it up from Listwire. Oh, June 24th. This is pretty new.
It's less than 2 weeks.
I'll tweet this out. It is got Oregon number 1, Uncle Phil, $969 million. Texas A&M number 2, $849 million. Texas number 3, $766 million. Florida number 4 at $763 million. Wow. So they should make a resurgence. And Georgia number 5 at $716. Kind of the usual suspects. But then all of a sudden I see Oklahoma State at $670 million here. That's going to be interesting in the Big 12 for the future. LSU number 7, 8 Oklahoma, 9 Auburn, 10 Florida State, 11 Ohio State. I thought Ohio State would be in the top 10. 12 Alabama. 13 Virginia.
Wow, 12 Alabama.
And then Virginia's in the 13. So that's interesting in the ACC. So with this NIL money, you wonder how it's going to all shift. Iowa, believe it or not, is number 16, when my Badgers are like number 24. Michigan State's number 21. Washington number 22. Texas.
So, where's all that cheese money at? Where's all that cheese money at?
We're too nice. We need to up our prices on old fashions and cheese and beer. So I think we need to raise money on that. Yeah, just raise the prices. That's all.
I'll make a phone call for you.
I'm definitely going to tweet this article out so people can see it, though. I think it's really interesting that could shape the landscape of college football. But let's move on to the next stuff, and that is the important stuff. So sports betting. And why don't we start with the ACC? Anything you like in the ACC? Any bets you made? Any things you want to either fade or be on?
I've only made one bet, and I'll skip the ACC and I'll just go right to the big bet place I did. But I think this is Ohio State's year. I mean, it has to be. I mean, if they don't, shit's gonna. I guess I could say shit's gonna hit the fan at LSU. I mean, you saw Michigan win it last year. You lost back-to-back game meetings to them. You have, I don't want to say an easy schedule, but your schedule's pretty favorable. You have some top talent all around now, both offense and defense. I think it has to be Ohio State's year on that one. That's the only one I made was Ohio State. In the ACC, I really like this Miami team. I know everyone's looking Florida State, but don't sleep on this Hurricane team. I really like the way both sides of the ball. I like the way they ended their season last year. They got some top guys coming back, and they added some guys on there. I really like Miami this year. So those two teams, like I said, sorry to mess up your ranking, but I had to go with Big Ten right away just because I do believe this has to be the OHIO season. I know you're a Badger fan, and I'm sorry to say it, but
should be ashamed of yourself.
I know, and I don't like Ohio State fans because I mean, I worked in books, and every morning. The English Premier League was still on the big screen, and I didn't even get my coffee yet, and they already have Ohio State fans screaming in a book, "OH!" So yeah.
Oh
so
God, that's gonna drive you nuts. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
that's unreal.
Yeah, so I'm not the biggest fan of theirs, but like I said, Miami. I'm very. I mean, you can get them anywhere between 4-1. I think the highest I saw was plus 450.
To what for Miami to make the playoffs?
To win the conference.
To win the conference. Okay.
Yeah,
I get you there. I'm going to go a little bit more rogue in there. I like Virginia Tech a little bit. A couple things I like about what sucks about that is they have to play at Miami, but they do avoid Florida State. They get Clemson at home, which I like, and their schedule is pretty manageable. Otherwise, there's no Louisville on their schedule. So that was like one of the tough teams from last year. There's also no NC State, I want to say. And so those are two like pretty good ACC teams that people are kind of on. And so I kind of like there's no Florida State, no Louisville, and no NC State on Virginia Tech's schedule. So yeah, I'll mark the loss at Miami, but Miami better win some games here because Virginia Tech just needs to beat Clemson, I think, at home. And I like the continuity with Kyron Drones. He seemed to be a very good, quarterback that can run the ball, and he also was able to, get some good wins at the end of the season last year. If you remember, they won at Boston College, they won at Virginia, 55-17. Nice win in the bowl game versus Tulane, 41-20. Strong finish. So I feel like they're kind of up and coming a little bit with Virginia Tech, and I know I'm not the first one on there, so I took them to win the conference at 12-1. So
I was gonna say, what number did you get on that? I was going to ask you. It was around. I know it's still double digit. I think I saw 11-1. I think I saw a couple 10-1s too, but 12-1's a good number.
Yeah, 12-1's a good number. You just hope they're not laying Florida State's not laying minus 500, minus 600 when the time comes. But there's no more divisions here either. So you got to be happy about that. Their non-conference at Vanderbilt versus Marshall, at Old Dominion against Rutgers. That could just be the boost that they kind of get to, feel pretty good about themselves coming into the ACC schedule. Then they got to play at Miami, at Stanford, which, it's at Stanford. It's far, but hey, that Stanford should be a winnable game. Boston College at home, Georgia Tech at home, at Syracuse, and then you get Clemson. So, I think it's just schedule-wise is why I took it. But I understand the Miami thing. They have the most money, and they have definitely a ton of NIL. I think they have God, is it did I hear $20 million or something they're paying, Raph?
It wouldn't shock me.
They are definitely the highest paying team for players this year. Cam Ward was awesome at Washington State, but here's my problem with Cam Ward. It seemed like as soon as people said, we cannot overlook Washington State, then they started losing some easy games. And Is he the kind of guy that only runs under the covers? Like, you're doubting me, you're ignoring me, I'm going to go kick your butt? Or is he one that can live up to an expectations? Because now Miami has massive expectations. So that and Mario Cristobal is my only problem with them. But it wouldn't shock me if any of these top 4 teams win. I think it's going to be one of them. Maybe you can throw NC State in there, and probably not Louisville. I don't like Tyler Shuck, and probably not Louisville. So we're on the same thing. So basically, so no other bets though yet in college football, correct?
No, maybe I'm looking at K-State in a Big 12. I haven't laid any numbers on that, and probably Texas in the SEC, just because that would be fantastic. Because the deep, dark, hard SEC fans are not going to accept Texas and Oklahoma as SEC conferences, even if they win the conference. So that'd be hilarious if Texas or Oklahoma won it. But I really like this Texas team, and wouldn't shock me if they win, and wouldn't shock me if Manning still transfers out next year.
Absolutely. It would not shock me at all if Texas wins. But, Georgia's definitely the cream of the crop, but then Georgia's got the most return in production they ever had. But, it's time for them to have some bad luck. And you don't predict luck, of course, but it's just one of those situations where why is Georgia always going to come out healthy and clean by the time the playoffs come? It's just been insane how healthy this team has. And they almost made it last year to make the three-peat last year,
But look at Alabama back in their days. They were always healthy and clean. And I don't know why certain teams have done that. And I would say those 2 teams in the SEC and all of college football have just been such clean streaks where they never had a bad quarterback injury during the season. And you're right on that. Georgia could have had many chances last year to do it. So it wouldn't shock. Now, for that, besides Texas and Georgia, Ole Miss could be a sleeper.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Ole Miss could be a sleeper. Ole Miss has now Lane Kiffin with the offense, not facing Nick Saban. He's facing a different head coach now in Kalen DeBoer. Now, I love Kalen DeBoer, but here's the funny thing about Alabama. Would you want to step into Nick Saban's shoes? And I think Kalen DeBoer is awesome, and it's Alabama. It's the cream of the crop with coaching. But dude, not now. I want to pick up for the guy that screwed up after Nick Saban. He's going to have a very short leash here. I don't know how long his contract was.
Someone had to do it.
Someone had to
replace someone.
Also, when you see all your talent in Washington going to the pros, you're kind of like, I gotta get out of here too. You know? So I understand that too. I almost feel like transferring to maybe a different squad might have been a better situation. I don't know I have to think about who the big name coaching turnover was. Well, Michigan was promoting their guy from inside, so it's not like that would have mattered anyway. But I just think Texas A&M. Texas A&M. I would have rather went to Texas A&M just on the fact that now I can build this program up instead. And so Mike Elko, of course, they got from Duke, but I would have thought that Kalen DeBoer might have beat them out. But I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe he does great. Maybe it doesn't matter. But it's just when I look at that, I find it really hard to live in those shoes. I'm sure when he counts his money at the end of the day, it's going to be fine. But he ain't sweating. He's not going to sweat for that. Group of 5. I only did a deep dive on the American Athletic Conference, but I found myself landing on 2 teams, East Carolina and South Florida from that conference. I just think that Tulane lost too much this year, the quarterback and a few other players. Memphis is kind of the favorite, but they're only like positive 0.1 or 0.2 yards per play. Their defense was bad. They dropped some games that they shouldn't have probably, but just because they were so close with SMU is why they got the nod and they won their bowl game against Iowa State. But I don't know, man. I don't think that Memphis was all that great. And Tulane, who's the other one? UTSA lost everybody pretty much too. They have a new quarterback. South Florida returns everyone, and they're that team that was kind of close to beating Alabama. Now, I know it was a rainy day, and Bama didn't have their main quarterback, Milroe, in, but it still kind of gave them a boost. And when they beat Syracuse 45-0 in their bowl game, I think they live off their momentum a little bit, and they're top 5 in returning all their players. So that's why I like South Florida a little bit. And I also like East Carolina to go over 6 wins because East Carolina is another team that returns some pretty good guys, and I like their quarterbacks that they have in. They have Jake Garcia in there this year transferring in. They have a couple skill positions back, and they have a very good defense. So I thought they did good in the transfer portal there, and I know that Mike Houston still has to prove it yet, but I think this is the year they can with a much easier schedule because this team in East Carolina for the over 6 wins, they avoid the top teams in here. They avoid Memphis, and they avoid Tulane. And I think they get UTSA at home. So there you go. No South Florida. So when you look at schedule-wise, I think East Carolina can go over 6.
Don't sleep on this Tulane team. I know they have a brand new head coach. They lost the quarterback, but they got a lot of transfer people come in this team that Tulane would have never got 5 years ago, or some skill positions that they filled nicely. So don't sleep on them. I know a brand new head coach, brand new quarterback, brand new running back as well. The talent they have around is what I'm hearing. It's pretty boosted both ways, backup and starter. So this Tulane team can probably still make some noise. So I know everyone's going to think they're in a downer. I agree with you on Memphis. I'm not sold on Memphis this year. Their defense was horrible in the second half of last year. I didn't see any improvements in their defense this year. So I agree with you on Memphis. But I'm not saying Tulane's going to win the conference. We're going to see the same Tulane team we've seen the last 2 years. But I think everyone's going to put a downer on them just because of everything they lost. But you have to go back and see what they also gained, which Tulane never gains anybody. It's always they're going to LSU or they're going to somewhere else. They're going to Louisiana Lafayette. But so don't sleep on them.
All right, I won't sleep on it. They're ranked number 48th in the transfer portal by 247. And they didn't like – it's not like people transferred out, it seemed. It seemed like they just lost guys to the draft and lost guys to being seniors. Yeah. Mike Houston, I think, will be good enough to go over 6. So we won't sleep on Tulane too much. Good call. I like the numbers I got though on South Florida. I think I got like 6-1 when Tulane's more like 2 or 3-1. So hopefully they make it, and I can make a little hedge, and everybody's happy. That's gonna what we're hoping for the AAC championship game, my man. NFL. Let's talk a little NFL. So I know you hate watching NFL games, and I do not disagree with that the way it's been. I hope this hip drop tackle doesn't fades away completely, and they forget about it. I don't know if that's possible, but as soon as Mahomes needs a first down, that you'll probably see a hip drop tackle. But what do you have for the NFL? Starting with the NFC North.
I'm going to Green Bay. I like what they added plus 220. I'm Detroit. Everyone's going to think it's Detroit's time. Maybe they can go to the next step. But I just I think Green Bay's running game then is not going to lose a step, especially if Jacobs back there now. I just think the Love coming with. I don't see a great season, but a much improved season, especially in the second half. He was really, really good in the second half. I just think they take that next step, and we're all going to forget about the Aaron Rodgers days and everything that Jordan Love had to go with. And now we're just, okay, he is the man. So I like them at plus 220. I'm not sold on Detroit yet. I think the division got improved. I think Detroit's still going to be there. I think the Bears are a much improved team. And I think the bottom of the barrel is probably going to be the Vikings just because we have no idea who's going to be their starting quarterback as of right now. Again, even though that division got better, I still like the way the Green Bay Packers are on paper at plus 220. Yeah, I've seen some other numbers out there to win that one. So I like Green Bay in that division.
What's interesting is a lot of Green Bay looked great at the end of the season, and they actually have a very good coach. I still don't see Detroit giving up the division. I see Green Bay possibly making the playoffs. But there's too much hype on the Bears, and I'm not going to take the under right now. And and that's my team, the Bears, of course. But as soon as I get a 9, that looks decent after all this HBO, NFL, Hard Knock stuff is worn off. I'm going to probably take the under in the Bears eventually. So just.
Do you watch HBO Hard Knocks?
I don't. No, I do not. But I'm hoping.
Okay. I've never watched it. I've never watched an episode of any of the Hard Knocks.
I haven't.
But thank you.
I haven't either, but I hear about it, and the fact that they're on it makes me hope that the public just keeps betting on it. I mean, Illinois, they're very populated, and there's going to be a lot of people in Chicago just betting the $10, $25, $100, on the Bears, and hopefully it drives the number up a little bit, and there's some of these, books that are nationwide, and that's what the ones I like to use. And that'd be great to get a decent 9 by the time the season starts, or even the preseason starts, because sometimes the cat comes out of the bag in the preseason too, and then you're just like, oh, geez, I missed my window to bet this under. So I'll be paying attention to that. NFC South. It's funny. I was contrarian a little bit. I took the Saints over 7.5 at -120. I just see them getting 8 wins. But here's the thing. I'm not betting on the Saints so much as I'm just betting against the Bucs and the Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. I'm more betting against that. Also, the Saints have a pretty easy schedule. It's at least manageable. One of those situations. I mean, Derek Carr. He still lives in Vegas, from what I'm hearing. I think that he's not a great quarterback, but he's not like the bottom of the barrel either. He's kind of in the middle, and he's not trustable. But I think the Saints get to 8. But I'm not going to be on the Falcons like everybody else. I was on the Falcons last year, and I had amazing line value. I had them to make the playoffs at like plus 200. That was like one of the first bets I made in like April or May. And holy cow, did that come falling. Let's see if Kirk Cousins changes that, Ref.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sold on Atlanta yet. I'll capitalize the word yet, but I like Tampa just because Baker got a contract. Now he doesn't have to think about or worry about where he's going to play. The last 4 years, he's been worried about who's signing him, where is he playing, what jersey is he going to put on. I like Tampa to win this division again. I like their defense this year. I'm not sold on the Saints. The Saints had the easiest schedule last year, and they stunk. And I'm not sold with Carr. Kamara's not at camp right now because he wants a new contract. I wouldn't give Kamara. Play the rest of your other contract before you ask for a new contract. Last time I checked, 35-year-old running backs are not getting paid right now. So I'm not sold on the Saints. I just like the mental part of Tampa Bay, knowing that their starting quarterback got a contract. He doesn't have to worry about is he going to be gone next year? Is he going to get traded, released, or whatever? I just like the mindset of what Tampa is right now. So I'm going to take Tampa, but I think it's going to be Atlanta's division probably in the next couple of years. I like the way they're building their roster. Even their backup quarterback. I know everyone hated that draft pick, but even when Cousins is done, I mean, I just like the way they're building their team up.
I love how you talked about getting paid and spun it that way, because there's so many ways. Yeah, now he's feeling good. Now he's going to play good for the team. He's got his money. That works out all the time. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I like Tampa to win the division. I just don't like the number. I think Tampa wins the division. I think the number was
3-1.
Is it
like the number?
Is it 3-1?
I think I saw 3-1.
All right. Well, I checked it over a month ago, and maybe shame on me for not checking it sooner. But I will look here and to see what the current line
could be
is.
wrong. I mean, Tampa Bay 3-1. Some place shops. Atlanta's -110, -115. Other shops.
Okay, if it's 3-1, now I'm starting to like it because Atlanta's -115. Yeah, okay, they're flat 3-1. They were like plus 260 before. Now it's starting to intrigue me a little bit more. They did win it last year, and the Falcons are getting a little too overhyped again, and they also have a new coach in Raheem Morris that you don't know if he's going to do good. He didn't do good last time. Who did he coach? It was either the Niners or Tampa or something. I can't remember who he coached before years ago.
I think it was Tampa.
Yeah, I thought it was Tampa. And it's almost like, well, Raheem Morris, what are you going to do against Tampa? And you're right, Tampa still has some. Evans wanted to play for his team. That guy seems to just not fade. Yeah. He's a stud, man. I didn't know how long this guy was going to last at wide receiver, but they still have Godwin there, and maybe I'm starting to like 3-1 more. I'll tell you that. I'll rethink this and maybe have to make a bet with you, buddy. NFC East. What about the Cowboys, dem Cowboys, and the Eagles? Eagles down to plus 100. Cowboys plus 150. Okay, this is getting a little out of hand since I last looked because they were like plus 125, 135 last time. What do you think about this one?
I want nothing to do with Dallas because everything they haven't done anything in the offseason. I can't think of one signing that made a fart and a win make me turn direction and say, "Ooh, the Cowboys just signed that." I want nothing to do with that. I think it's got to be the Eagles. I think they bounced back with a horrible second half. Like, everyone thought, "Get rid of your head coach, get rid of your head coach." I think they bounced back. I like the Eagles. Again, what again? The Cowboys can't pay everyone, and we all know what Dak wants. So if Dak gets what he's getting, that means they're just in a horrible, horrible financial mess. So I want nothing to do for the Dallas Cowboys, probably for a while. I don't think they're going to be anywhere close to where they're hoping to get another Super Bowl before the owner croaks, but I want nothing to do with Dallas. I think the Eagles, I think they bounce back.
I took the Eagles under 10.5 early. I probably didn't get the greatest odds. I laid minus 118 on under 10.5 because now there's more and more hype kind of coming in on this team. So I wonder what it is now. As I'm sharing my screen here, maybe I can pull up Phillies here and Philadelphia, and they are 8.5, 10.5, 10. Okay, over 10.5 minus 120, under is plus 100. So yeah, I lost some line value on that. That happens from time to time, very regretfully. But I still think neither team, Dallas or the Eagles, get to 10 wins. So I like it. I don't care. I think that it's either the Eagles or Dallas winning this division. I'm not super high on Sirianni. I know he's got some better coordinators now, but I certainly would not take them. How about the NFC West? Anything beating the Niners this year?
No, I don't think so. I mean, what I've seen and what I've heard, that McCaffrey's just jacked up. I mean, he's healthy. I think their quarterback play will be probably a little bit better. I think Purdy will play a little bit more looser last year. I just think he just didn't want to make that mistake. I think now that he has more years underneath his belt, he's going to be able to make that mistake and not go to the sideline and think, "Oh shoot, am I going to get pulled?" I think another year under the belt or under the center is going to help them. I just don't see anyone in that division that can put up. They just got so much talent. I mean, and I know they have a guy that still wants to get paid, a Rook that still wants to get paid as a wide receiver, but even if they lose him, they still have so much talent all around there.
Very true. I like the Rams to make the playoffs at plus 100. I think the Niners still win the division. I don't like Seattle so much. I don't like how they changed.
No.
I don't like how they changed their coach, man. I thought that Carroll was actually a pretty good coach. It's not like he almost kind of turned into that Mike Tomlin of the NFC in a way. But at the same time, the players respect him. I thought he got the best he could out of a guy like Geno Smith. And, now you got Seattle they lost some guys too. They're not exactly winning in free agency. They drafted some guys I liked the last couple years, but their schedule is pretty hard this year. I'm trying to pull up exactly what I wrote about them in the NFC West. I just not seeing 8 wins for them. I think they take a step back, and it's a honeymoon year for the new coach. I think it's Mike McDonald, and we'll see what happens to them. How about the AFC North? Do you have anything for the AFC North?
This is where I'm throwing a little wrench out there. I like the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to take that plus 550. I love this defense. And even with Watson not playing all next year, the Browns are going to remind me of the year when the Baltimore Ravens won a Super Bowl where Flacco was just trying not to make mistakes, and their defense carried them through those games. I think with Watson being healthy and that defense still potent, I like this Cleveland Browns team. I'll take the plus 550. I think they shock. I'm not sold on the Ravens. I think anytime you have Lamar Jackson, yes, he wasn't hurt last year, had a great season, but anytime you have Lamar Jackson, you have to have that question mark. Same thing with Watson. I agree with that one, but I just think the defense that Cleveland has, I'm going to take a shot at the plus 550. It wouldn't even shock me if the Steelers are making some noise because, let's face it, Steelers are always winning double-digit wins, total season wins, 8, 9, and 10. But I like the plus 550 with Cleveland just because of that defense.
Yeah, I mean, hard to disagree with a lot of these teams, minus the Steelers just having that brutal schedule. But you have to remember that the Steelers have the brutal schedule because everyone's so high on the rest of these teams. I'm not so high on the Cincinnati Bengals, and the reason this is because everyone's like, well, Joe Burrow got hurt. Well, it's like, but did you watch them play with Joe Burrow last year? They were trash with Joe Burrow last year for a lot of games. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure that Joe Burrow was top 20 in QBR. Before he got hurt, he was not playing well, and you can say whatever reason it was, but either way, it was confusing to me because I didn't believe that they were going to win even if Burrow was healthy. I think they were going to be out of the playoffs, and they have some serious holes in that defense. Now they lost Mixon, so they're putting trust in some new guys. I thought Mixon was a huge part of this team, so I went under the season win total for the Bengals here, and I'm going to pull up exactly what that was while you get into.
But the one thing that scares me about their schedule is brutally easy. I mean, they open up with New England, then they go to Kansas City, which I'm not sold on Kansas City. Last time I checked, Travis Kelce's been jet touring Taylor Swift's tours all over the place. Hey, hit the gym one time, Kelce. I mean, I don't. I'm not sold on this Kansas City team. I don't think they're going to hit a 3. They'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to come close to a 3-peat.
Here's their at-large, and it's easy, but maybe the easiest out of the fourth-place schedules: New England, at Carolina, and at Tennessee. Now they do have to go to the NFC at least, so that's one less home game supposedly. It's not like they're going to be doing a lot of international games. Losing guys like Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator, is interesting. I think losing cornerback Chidobe Awuzie, tackle Jonah Williams, who was a big guy for that team. Tyler Boyd was the third receiver. You got one of the receivers very upset. I'm trying to think. T. Higgins, right? T. Higgins, that's his name.
Yeah, T. Higgins.
He's pissed off. He wants that big contract like Chase got. He ain't getting it. They're just kind of franchising him along, just hoping he stays, type thing. And he's just going to play disgruntled this year. I don't like him. I got plus money. I got under 10.5 plus 128 on this. So I'm okay. Nice. I'm okay with that, man. I'll ride with that, even with the easy schedule. How about the AFC South? What do you have going on in the AFC South?
I just really like this Houston team. I mean,
who doesn't?
First of all, you're getting plus money, plus 105, or even money some places. I mean, just the way they filled their holes that they needed. They added guys that was shocking that they added. And this quarterback is what CJ Stroud did last year, even though I've always said Ohio State quarterbacks never do anything in the NFL. Well, I might have to eat crow because I think this guy is going to be really, really good. So I just think this Houston team they're going to be a force. I know everyone's going to be high in the Colts and stuff like that, but this in Jacksonville, now that Marsha Brady got a new contract for Jacksonville, I just think Houston's going to be a really, really tough out for the next couple of years.
I agree with you, but I think Jacksonville can make the playoffs, and I'll do the Raph thing. He just got paid; doesn't have to worry about his contract. Feeling good. I will say he was overpaid. There's no way Trevor Lawrence was worth that. I mean, it's he's so overpaid. You better perform, Trevor, because first of all, I think quarterback pay has gotten out of hand. NFL's a monopoly. It's like it's designed to favor certain things. It's one almost like the quarterbacks are all the CEOs of the only company with no competition. It's like of course you're going to favor them, but the discrepancy is so big that it kind of bums out the rest of the league, in my opinion. And it also makes it tough for teams to have to compete to pay for other positions. So it just gets all haphazard in a way. I think the pay should be a little bit more fixed if you're going to be a monopoly, And I do love the NFL, but they've been doing a lot of weird stuff lately. I think Jacksonville makes the playoffs, and I got plus 130 on it. So I'm okay with that. I just am so down on the Titans, and I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at worst record. And I have to find it and pull it up, but I believe they're 8-1 right now for worst record. Who might beat me is the Patriots, right? But
no, I would say no. I think the Patriots are going to be a little bit improved, but I agree with worst record. It has to be up there with Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean I think they're third or fourth on that list, and I'm trying to find it right now. it is. I mean, there's so many bets here on DK here. It's just so hard to find some of these specials here, and I'm going to go with 8-1. I'm close to making that bet. I didn't yet, but I'm thinking about it. So we'll see if anybody else has some opinions on that one. Let's move on to the next division. What is it? The AFC. Let's move on to the AFC East then. Let's talk about the Patriots. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and how modest this man is, and the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. What do you have for that division?
I'm gonna go with Miami. I'm not sold on anyone in this conf or division, but I think Miami. I think Tua, who keeps on improving. I think the offense. Their defense has a lot of holes, so you're gonna have to outscore Miami if you're gonna beat them. If you're looking to bet over games, just bet every Miami total over. I think their defense is gonna be very, very lacking, but I think they're gonna put up a lot of points. So I kind of like that, but I'm not sold on anyone. But I'll take a shot at the plus 185 to win a division and maybe to make the playoffs as well. But anyone else, the Patriots. No, I'm not sold on them. Buffalo, I'm not sold on them. This conf or division right here probably has the biggest question marks out of all the divisions.
So it's Denver. That's the other one that's everyone's fading. You can tell the Patriots at 25-1 to win the division. Denver 18-1 to win the division. And then if you go to the AFC South, it's the Titans at 10-1. You actually got the Panthers there at 11-1 too. So, and the Vikings are 10-1. So they're kind of like all wrapped in. Cardinals 13-1, but Cardinals are not going to have the worst wins in my opinion. I think that I did take the Jets. I took them at plus 240. It's now plus 190. I'm happy I have a good number on it. It's one of those bets that I'm kind of like, some days I regret it. Some days I don't. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's a drama queen. They're just so loaded on offense, and they have such an easy fourth place schedule that you just think to yourself that they have to win some of these games, and possibly win this division. Buffalo is just kind of leaking oil a little bit, man. So I did take the Jets, but I'm not
very much oil.
Yeah, very much oil. I'm not super excited about it. And now finally the AFC West. You have the Chiefs minus 230, the Chargers plus 320, Raiders plus 900, and Broncos plus 1800. Anything in the AFC West?
I'm just fading the Chiefs. I'm just not sold on them just because of all the partying they're still doing. I'm going to take a shot at the plus 325 the Chargers. And I think the Chargers could make the playoffs as well. So I'll take a little dabble on the yes to make the Chargers. I think what we're going to see is when Harbaugh ran the 49ers, a lot of running game, a lot of some maybe play action. I think we're not going to see Herbert has to win the game by himself. I think the run game is always going to come first when Harbaugh is the head coach. So I think that's going to improve, and it's going to improve the health of Herbert, who doesn't have to run all the time as well. He's going to have a lot of running backs to dish the ball up as well. We're going to see a lot of screen games. I think it's going to help the health of Herbert as well. So I'm going to take a shot at the plus 325. I'm, again, just not sold on Kansas City. Granted, I think Kansas City is a good team. They'll probably make the playoffs, but I just don't think that I'm going to anoint them the greatest team that's ever played in football, and they're going to win 3 straight Super Bowls.
I like the Raiders over 6.5. I did at minus 128. I think they do get 7 or 8 wins. Now, I do agree with you. The first bet I made back in April was the Chiefs under 11.5 wins, and I got them at plus 100, so I was happy about that. That was the same bet I made last year at plus, and I got plus 130 on it, and I won. So I'm like, I'll do it again. I think it's just there's one of those teams that just needs to get into the playoffs, and they should be the favorite to win it all, even as a wild card. That's just how the Chiefs are. They don't need to impress anybody. They want to stay healthy. It's just kind of the new NFL when you're not needing to run over teams. But this is a perfect pivot how you like the Chargers into Coach of the Year, because I think if the Chargers, they won 5 games last year, and I know this is a lot of story based, but why not take Jim Harbaugh for Coach of the Year? And I got Jim at 14-1. I see it at 11-1 now for Coach of the Year.
You guys that close? Where you call him Jim? You guys are that close?
Jim. I mean, he played for the Bears. You got to understand. I had to watch this man every single week under a terrible offensive line. So yeah, I'd say we're pretty close. He doesn't know me, but we're pretty close.
Okay, good.
But I also took I took 3 plays. I took Raheem Morris for Coach of the Year at plus 1,300 just because he's got everything lined up for him, and I also took my worst that I'm mad about, and if it's Robert Saleh at 20-1, so be it. I only put half the bet on there. I think the New York media is so big in these voting that it could be Saleh, and Saleh took a lot of crap last year, and that's the story they're looking for now. He also has Aaron Rodgers, so maybe that doesn't work. But I think that Jim Harbaugh is the best bet out of all 3 of those, just because he's that good of a coach.
I made 2 plays, and you named one of them. I bet Robert Saleh at 18-1 just because exactly what you said. He got so much scrutiny last year. Now they got rid of one of the quarterbacks that gave him most of the scrutiny, who's out in Denver right now, and you got the quarterback that you really wanted to play all season long back if he could stay healthy, and Aaron Rodgers. And I agree, if they make the playoffs, I think he's highly up there as coaching it. And don't forget, guys, they keep Coach of the Year odds up along probably close to maybe week 8, week 7, something like that. So you can get off this number if, let's say, the Jets are floating around maybe sub 500, or we see another emerging team. So you can also get off the number. But you can't pass up on 18-1 that's getting one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game back. And you said it earlier, to have so much weapons on offense, the Jets do. So I just thought that was a bad number. I thought it was going to be anywhere between like where Mike McDonald is, and maybe like a 12-1, 13-1, but 18-1 it was ridiculous. So I jumped on that. I think less than a week ago, because I was doing some NFL reading, and then I went back and I'm like, what's his Coach of the Year? I'm like, what the hell? So I jumped in that. And the other one, just because I picked the Browns to win it, I picked Myles Garrett plus 650 for Defensive Player of the Year. He was a beast last year, and if my division comes true, that means that because of defense. And if it's the defense is just what it was like that, it's because of this guy. I mean, Myles, he's just a beast. And I was shocked that I was getting plus 650. I thought it was going to be like 4-1 or something like that. So getting plus 650, I think, is a really good number for one of the best defensive players that's playing right now.
Absolutely. He is an absolute massive man and an angry man. I remember he swung his helmet at Mason Rudolph, and I feared for that man's life. A bet I was thinking about making, by the way, is Mason Rudolph for Comeback Player of the Year. He did so well with the Steelers, and I could see Will Levis being the first guy benched. So I was thinking to myself, maybe bet Will Levis to be the first quarterback benched, and or Mason Rudolph for a comeback, because that
Levi's, not Levis. Levi's.
Does he wear Levi's with cowboy boots?
I think he's a. I don't know if cowboy boots. You're correct. Okay. Maybe Levi's. Then you're correct. You can't wear cowboy boots with Levi's. I don't think it's against the law.
It better be against the law. Jesus. Well, hey, Raph, we're out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show and breaking down all your great knowledge. Where could our listeners get your wonderful information and plays?
You can find me over at DocSports.com. You can find me on X at VSI.Sports. You can find me on Instagram at Raphael Esparza. You can also find me on Driving the Line. And you can find all my wrestling betting content at Behind the Turnbuckle, and then all my crazy prop bets at YouCanBetThat.com.
Make sure you guys check out Raphael Esparza. Raphael, great job. I'll be texting you soon. A huge thanks to Raphael Esparza for coming on and breaking down some football. My friends, if you have any questions for next week's pod, feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Have a great rest of your week, and go get some winners.